Video we're going to talk about generating random numbers in Java. So basically what we're going to use is this native class called math, which happens to have a method called random embedded within it. This is how it works. Basically when you call this class method, it will automatically generate a value that is greater than or equal to 0.0 and less than 1. So that means any decimal point value between 0 up to, but not including 1. So up to 0.999999999 and forever. So let's go ahead and see an example of that. So in our textbook, we can go ahead and run this code, which will generate two random values. Notice that they are not the same because at each run it actually generates a random value, and it'll generate a different value at each separate run too. So notice when I click the button again, you will see different values. There we go, and each time it should be different. Okay, so cool. That's all great, but in your homework, you want something a little bit different. You want to generate values between 0 and 100 inclusive. I'm not going to show you how to accomplish that per se, but I will show you something that will point you in the right direction. Okay, so one thing is I need to increase my range. I don't want just values between 0 and 1. One thing you can do is the output that is generated by this class method, you can multiply it by something. So say I wanted the values between 0 and 10, well, I could just take the values that are produced by math.random and multiply them by 10. And I should get values up to 9.99999, because remember, it's non-inclusive at the upper range. But already I am increasing my range, so the top number reflects the line of code on line 5, and already we see that we're getting numbers much larger than 1, so 5.47, and we'll run it again just to see what else it'll produce. 6.35, awesome, and one more time, see if we can get a 9 in there, something lower, but you get the idea. Alright, so that's one concept covered, how to increase the range. Now what if I wanted an integer like in our homework problem? Well, that's something, that's a new concept that we haven't talked about yet, and that is casting. So right now, math.random is producing double values, which are numbers that have decimal point values. If we want to get rid of the decimal point and just stick to the whole numbers, we need to cast the double as an integer. And this is how you do it. You simply just say, hey, turn this into an integer by putting int within parentheses in front of whatever value you have. Okay? So looking at this, well, I'm going to guess that this is going to give me an integer value between 0 and 10, not inclusive. So 0 and 9, basically. But it turns out I'm wrong. Check it out. 0. Okay. Maybe it's just a fluke. 0. Okay. Surely I'll get a no. Okay. 0. So what's going wrong here is that this integer casting is happening first in the order of operations. So I'm casting whatever value comes out of math.random as an integer, which, if you'll recall, just this part right here will give me some number, some decimal point number between 0.0 and 0.999999, so 0.9999. So if it gets rid of the decimal point values, what's left is always going to be 0. So by the time I get to here, multiply by 10, well, 0 multiplied by anything is still 0, so I'm always going to get 0. So I need to modify the order of operations. And I can do that with parentheses. I can encapsulate math.random and times 10 together, so they happen first. And then the result of this will then be cast as an integer. So I should get values between 0 and 9, since we're not including 10. The upper value is never included. Run that, and look at that, I got a 2, I got an 8, I got an 8 again, and I got a 7.